Good evening, Chanel.
Good evening, Miss. Hi.
How are you?
Miss me nervous.
Don't be nervous. It's just a space for everybody to learn from each other.
Yes, Miss, I'm nervous now, but I'm excited.
Okay, good, good.
Yes.
Keep the latter going. The excitement, not the nervousness.
All right, Miss.
All right.
Good night, miss.
Hi, Trudy.
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm well. Sorry I'm late. I was wrapping up the previous class.
No problem. So your group will go first.
And on my right here, well, Jessica will be over shortly.
Okay. Just give the others some more time as usual.
Yes, miss, because the other teacher wrapping up.
Okay. All right. From your group, should I give co-host to Trudy, who would share the presentation?
Jessica
Jessica.
is in, Miss.
Jessica, miss.
Okay, Jessica is here now. All right.
Yeah, she's here, miss.
Okay.
Miss,
Yes.
you're hearing some additional talking in my background?
Yeah, I hear in that TV, I think.
No, some workmen are here sorting out some AC and hold on, let me just go ask them too. Give me a minute, I'm
Well, we're
just
not
ask them
ready to
too.
start yet, so you can mute until we're ready to start.
Still I gotta tell him though, because I'm not much with me present. So all right.
Okay, all right.
Miss, I have a question.
Go ahead.
So for the first draft that's due on Friday, can we send it to you prior and you just review it for us, please?
I can't make any promises because I have a very busy week, but I can try.
Mrs. The draft on Friday graded?
Yes, everything is graded for this course.
So my forget send you them one, miss.
Everything is graded. You saw the samples I sent?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. All right, let us get started because I know that the first group has some time constraints and we have more than half the class here. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. We're going to begin with the presentations of your initial chapter 1 elements. So let us pay keen attention and learn from each other, and we can ask some questions if there's anything you need clarity about. All right, so group 1 is going to go first. That's Jessica, Chanel, and Trudy. Turning over to you now, ladies.
Okay, good night, class. Thank you for joining us. So as Miss mentioned, we're group 1 and it consists of myself, Trudy Ann Smith, Miss Chanel Pratt, and Miss Jessica Dixon. So tonight we'll be presenting on our topic, which is stated here, the public sector employees' experiences with nepotism in the Jamaican government system. Right? So our overview is as follows. We look at the background, then we look at the key terms.
Mommy?
Go back to the topic a little for me. Not to interrupt, go back to the topic. I just want to see the slide again.
Sure, no problem.
All right, you can move on.
Okay. Yeah, so the outline is as follows. So we look at the background, the key terms, the research problem, as well as a purpose statement and the research questions.
All right, now that we have the objectives out of the way, let us get into the presentation. My name is Chanel Pratt, for those who are wondering whose voice is this, and I'll be speaking on the background for our research topic. So I would just like to repeat the research topic once more, which is public sector employees' experiences with nepotism in the Jamaican government system. And I believe that when you hear this topic, a lot of words that are in this topic is very familiar to you: public sector, employees, experiences. But nepotism is one that the average person would probably see and wonder what the meaning is. So I'm going to give you a little background on nepotism and how it is centered in our research topic. So the word nepotism is from the Latin word nepos, nepotis, also the Romanian word nepot, the Italian word nipoti, and the Catalan word nebot, meaning nephew, grandchild, granddaughter, and descendants. In the earlier days of the Pope, you know, the Pope are the people, the men that are the head of the Roman Catholic churches. In those days, they practiced nepotism. What I mean by this is these popes took a vow of chastity, and so they could not have children. And when it came around to the time where they had to promote or elect new members of the clergy, instead of choosing a regular outsider of the church, they would give preference to their nephews since they could not have children, right? So now that I gave you that little background, the word nepotism can be described as a form of favoritism shown to acquaintances and family members. And that little scenario that I told you about just now is how they used it. So they would give preference to their nephews in these high positions that they would appoint them in rather than appointing a regular person of the church. I would now like to make reference to a Gleaner article from the Jamaica Observer about an act of nepotism that took place in the Petrodram organization. So, the Auditor General took a audit of this organization and found that there were a lot of inconsistencies found in the selection process of this organization, and they deemed it as explicit acts of nepotism. So in this audit report, they had recognized that two individuals were employed despite being rejected by the interviewing panel. In the first instance, the person or the individual was initially interviewed for the position of a process engineer, that person was rejected from a four-member interview panel on the basis of lack of experience, engineering, and project experience. And the audit pointed out that the 3-member panels were senior officers in the unit that the person was interviewing for. So 26 days later, that individual was re-interviewed for the same position by the then Human Resource Development and Administration manager and another technical service manager who were not a part of the initial first panel. The audit revealed that the individual was then recommended for a more strategic role on the project and given their expertise and strategic competencies. And then the individual was employed as head of the project in the capacity of director, a position that was not even included in the staff structure of the project. The AGD said that the decision of the HRD and the technical service manager to overturn the decision of the interview panel without justification illustrates deficiencies in Petrojam's recruitment process. And then in the second instance, that same HR manager employed her sibling in a position of instrument and electrical technician, although that individual was rejected by the interview panel earlier on the basis of lack of experience and qualification. It said that the engagement was an explicit act of nepotism and that the HR manager breached the Petrojam's employment policy, which prohibits the employment of siblings. And further, the manager's sibling was shortlisted, although the position was advertised only internally. In both instances, the HR manager breached sections of the employment policy, which states that the employment and promotion of individuals will be based upon individual experience, qualification, and potential. When that being said, we can see that nepotism is alive and kicking in today's society because this um, this article was in December 2018, so that is very recent. And so this research paper aims to investigate the impacts of nepotism on employees' enthusiastic commitment and to analyze the role of nepotism in the debilitating performance in organizations.
So now we'll be discussing the key terms that are used in the research paper. Firstly, we have nepotism. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, the term nepotism can be defined as the act of using your power or influence to get good jobs or unfair advantage from members of your own family or persons that you're related to, or paramour, your girlfriend, your siblings, and so forth. Employment refers to the idea that an individual has entered some form of verbal or written commitment with an entity known as the employer under certain stipulations such as payment, schedule, etc., according to my accounting course.
Okay, and you have performance, right? So performance is the act of performing or doing something successfully by using knowledge as distinguished from merely possessing it, according to the definition.net, right? So, and the word government, the Merriam-Webster diction explains the term to be the body of persons that constitutes the governing authority of a political unit or organization.
We now move on to the next term, which is employee, and that is an individual who is hired by an employer to do a specific job. And so, you know, after the employee is hired by the employer, there's an application and interview process which results in his or her selection as an employee as defined by Balanced Careers. And emotional can be described as a person's reaction arousing or characterized by intense feeling according to lexico.com.
Organizational impact is a measure of the extent to which the effects an organization has on a group or society, and public sector refers to any part of a state or national economy that is tied to the public programs or services and is controlled by government as defined by Kent State University.
And organizational politics now, according to Marketing 91, is referred to as the self-interest and agenda of an individual in an organization without any concern about its impact on the objective of the company to achieve its goals. It is a process that is related to the self-serving human behavior and his interactions involving authority and power. And now experience. Experience may be described as practical knowledge, skill, or practice derived from direct observation of or participation in events or in a particular activity or something personally encountered, undergone, or lived through as defined by Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary.
And next we move on to the research problem. So many of us have it in our heads that, okay, you go to school, you get a degree, and then you move into a good post, a better post, more money, better life. But in reality, the practice of favoring and promoting relatives or paramours, meaning girlfriends, boyfriend, wives, husband, is more commonly known as nepotism, and it is widely practiced. To be more specific, nepotism is a certain type of conflict of interest. As a result of the intervention of influential people in the recruitment and selection process, as well as the promotion process in the public sector, the work productivity falls as non-qualified persons are given the job over persons who are qualified and more experienced. And as such, they are not performing as they should, which prompts a shortcoming in the degree of productivity, as well as the demotivating and debasing of employees' enthusiastic commitment. Perceived favoritism causes dissatisfaction among workers and lower morale. Employees have less incentive to perform their responsibilities diligently and proficiently as they feel the path to promotion is undermined by nepotism. As a result, they seek employments elsewhere, which results in high staff turnovers and the negative satisfaction of citizens who are consumers of government services.
Okay, we now move on to the research question. So given all of that
Purpose statement.
We're at the purpose statement. So, right, so the reason for why we're doing this, right? So we know that the government monopolize most of the layers of society, be it business venture, employees, or just people in general. We should assume that the government offers numerous types of assistance to various individuals. We can't go around them, we'll have to deal with them because they're the governing body, right? So what this research paper will do, it will help us to distinguish the role of nepotism in the workplace within these government institutions, right? It will also help us to recognize the effect of nepotism in employees' performance and create proposal on how nepotism can be diminished. So the purpose of the study really is to investigate the impacts of utilizing nepotism in the workforce within the government organizations. It will also dive deep and explore the effects of nepotism and its connection to employees' emotional commitment and productivity within these said government organizations. So in short, the research plans to give effective experimental proof to the connection between the two develops. So, and a qualitative exploration approach was used in order to gather the information.
And lastly, we have our research questions. So we have two main questions, and they are, what are the effects of nepotism on the employees within the government organizations? And how does nepotism affect the success of an organization, which in this case is the government organization? To support these questions, we have sub-questions which are to assist in answering our main research questions, and they are, how does nepotism affect employee behavior and productivity in this organization, and how does nepotism impact the morale of the workplace within the organization? And basically these questions will aim at answering our research topic. It is asking, how do these employees feel, how do they react, how do they perform based on the effects of nepotism. And so this is what we will be using to fuel our research on our research topic. Thank you.
And
so
that
much.
concludes, these are the references in which we retrieved our sources. Cambridge Dictionary, Web Merriam, the Gleaner, and so forth. That concludes our presentation for today. Should you
Yes,
have any
thank you very much.
questions, feel free to ask.
All
Thank
right.
you very much for listening.
Thank you, Group 1. Quite comprehensive. Any questions from the class? All right, so the class don't seem to have any questions, Group 1, but I wanted to, in terms of your topic, because it just said public sector organizations, were you planning to focus on any specific public sector entities? And if so, which ones? In terms of who would you be seeking to get your information from?
Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education.
Education. Yes, miss.
Okay. All right. So maybe what we could do is to, in your topic, you could have public sector employees' experiences with nepotism in the Jamaican government system, and then put colon, a case study of 2 ministries.
Okay. Yes,
Okay,
miss.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you, miss.
Okay, no problem. All right, thank you. The other thing is there is a point that you had, the last bullet you had on the purpose statement. It's not clear, and I don't think it's necessary at this point of your paper. So you can take that one out, right?
Noted, miss.
And then
Environmental proof?
yes, that one, that last bullet.
Okay.
And they are just for general guidelines for all the groups. When you're giving your definition, because sometimes when you're looking for definitions, you'll find different sources that may define terms with different nuances, different things come out in the definitions. What is important in your definition is that you must find a definition that works for your study. So you're looking at that term within the context of your study. So if you find a definition that is specific to how you would use or be looking at that term within the context of your study and it fits very well, that's the definition that you should utilize.
Okay.
All right.
Noted, miss. Miss, excuse me, I'm gonna have to leave the
Sure,
office now.
I understand.
All right, guys, good night and thank you.
All right, group 2, are you ready to go? Let me see, group 2.
Yes, miss.
All right, can you share or do I need to give you a co-host? You seen the option to share?
Yes, miss, I'm seeing
Okay,
it.
all right,
Are you seeing the screen?
it's coming up.
Let me know when you're seeing it, miss.
We're seeing it, you can go ahead now.
Okay, good night, everyone. This is group 2. Our members are myself, Adri Street, Miss Patricia Wright, and Mr. Jadim Johnson. Our main area of focus is performance management. All right, let's begin. So we narrowed down our topic.
Slideshow view, Adris.
All right, 1 minute.
I think F8 should take you there. Or,
F8.
yeah.
Let's see.
F8.
It's not.
Or just go up to slideshow and or the yeah, slideshow.
What is no?
And then from beginning, right?
Alrighty. All right. So while we were narrowing down our topic, we used this system to do that. So our main topic was performance management. We are focusing on both managers and employees or supervisees at NCEL, and we are narrowing down to a time period at the era of technological advancement through the point of view of technological. So our research topic, the evolution of performance management in the age of technological advancement and its influence on the performance appraisal process for staff members of the National College of Educational Leadership, NCEL, at the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, a comparison with the manual process. All right. From that topic, we found one main research question, and that is, how has moving from a paper-based performance management system to a modern technology/electronic-based system impacted 1, employee job performance, 2, the level of transparency in the process, and 3, performance feedback. Now, the background on the topic. So prior to 2014, there was no PMAS as we know it, and PMAS stands for Performance Management Appraisal System. The ministry and its entities utilize a strictly paper-based subjective performance management system, which did not accurately evaluate employee job performance. That's 1. It created low transparency of the process, or basically no transparency at all. And thirdly, it provided employees with little to no feedback. A review of the literature showed that this specific area of study has not been adequately addressed. In addition, the era of technological advancement is rapidly progressing. Also, or should I say, the performance management sector is no different from that era. So since the implementation of PMAS, the ministry has made some progress in keeping up with the technological trends in this area. The new system is 1, more objective. It allows for better evaluation of employee job performance. It increases the level of transparency in the process, and also allows for more frequent feedback, performance feedback. The research aims to compare the paper-based system and the electronic-based system, and how the transition to the electronic system influenced job performance, performance process, transparency, and performance feedback at NCEL, all in an effort to evaluate the effectiveness of the current system, highlight shortcomings, as well as deliberate if there is a need to implement a performance management software. Research has shown that the greater integration of technology in the performance management system has indicated that organizations accomplish more results and are better able to track their achievements as an organization. Moving on to the research problem. Ms. Wright, are you there?
Yes, good night. My name is Patricia Wright. Our research problem: years of paper-based subjective performance reviews lead to misevaluation of employees' performance, low level of transparency, or little or no performance feedback. The paper-based performance review, old form, was based on the supervisor's subjective feedback, which is or her bias, can skew to reflect negatively on the employees as opposed to an objective feedback with measurable targets. So, in retrospect, the old performance appraisal system was skewed towards how the employee felt, the employer or the supervisor felt about the person being evaluated. So, for instance, if you had a friendly relationship with the supervisee or the manager, you would get a favorable evaluation against what is here now. A system that was more technologically advanced was implemented with the aim of allowing employees' performance to be evaluated based on the set targets and actual result of the work carried out by employees. The organization, along with the relevant authorities, would need to know how the new technology, one moment.
Miss Wright,
Yeah,
which slide are you seeing?
research problem continues.
We're still
Okay.
seeing the, right, we're seeing that one now.
Okay.
Okay. The organization, along with the relevant authorities, would need to know how the new technology advanced system influences job performance, level of transparency in the process, as well as performance feedback for all staff in order to assist in the evaluation of the overall system, its effectiveness and shortfalls, to see if the organization should consider implementing a performance management software. In order to gain this valuable insight that could propel the Ministry of Education into the future of performance management, a review and comparison of both paper-based and electronic system is required. Purpose.
Okay. Continue, Miss Wright.
Thank you. Purpose of statement. This study will examine the influences that technology has had on the performance appraisal process within the ministry, with a focus on NCEL in particular, examining how it has impacted job performance, transparency, and performance feedback.
Okay, so some of the key terms that are coming out of our research so far. 1, performance management process. 2, PMAS, that's the new system. 3, electronic transition. 4, continuous performance review. 5, performance review. Now, PMAS is the name of the new system and performance review was the name of the old system. And some of our references. And that's the end of our presentation.
All right, thank you, group 2. 2 questions for you. Do you have any information, written secondary sources to support the information you put in your research problem? I know being within the ministry, you would have had some personal experience, but is there any publication, any documentation that would have been released by the ministry that spoke to why it is they shifted to the electronic performance management system as opposed to continuing with the old system?
Okay, Miss, that would be coming from Cabinet Office as they're the process owners of the PMAS system in general. So back in 2003, I believe, the government of Jamaica at the time implemented PMAS. So this was this is where the transition process really started. But the ministry itself was not in that first batch of ministries that was piloted with the program.
Okay.
So in 2014, it was piloted for the ministry in 2013, but fully implemented in 2014.
Okay. Now, can you find any, whether it be newspaper articles, anything out of the ministries that can speak to our office of the Prime Minister, wherever it is, that can speak to the implementation of this new system?
Yes, Miss, there is a project update on the Cabinet Office website that they speak to this topic in particular.
All right, great.
Because there's also the implementation framework as well.
All right, you need to see that coming out in your research problem, so it doesn't seem as if you're only speaking from personal
knowledge.
Right? The other thing too is in your research questions, which are quite good, there's some key terms within them that you need to define that I'm not seeing in your key terms. No. So any of those key terms, whether it is job satisfaction, transparency, whatever the key terms are coming out there, you need to define those terms as well.
Okay, Miss.
All right, okay. Group 3, are you ready? That's Kemar, Romain, and Curtis.
Yes, yes.
Ready? All right, go ahead and
For the
share.
group member,
Are they there?
check in.
All right, let me ask group 4 to go. Curtis is there. And Kemar is there. So you're all there, but you need to get their attention. Group 4, are you ready to go?
Miss, couple minutes. Miss, we're not quite ready.
Which group is ready? Group 5? Kimberly, Latoya, and Christina. Ricardo, Daniel, Jeru. Sharon and Paula. Jody and Carlene and Kimberly.
Yes, Miss, we'll go.
All right, great. Thank you.
And work motivation. Let me go again. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to our presentation on Chapter 1 of our research paper. My group members are Kimberly Samuels Rowe, Caroline Roberts, and me, Jordan Butler. So our research topic, as stated before, is employee satisfaction and its effect on work motivation and work-home balance during the COVID-19 pandemic. And we'll be doing a study of the Ministry of Education. So the first element that we'll be looking at is the background. And for our background, we'll be providing insights on the following. So while putting a glance on the organization around us, we find that the main challenge for companies is to enhance employees' performance. And it is job satisfaction that will make employees more attentive and concerned for the organization. So for our background, we will be looking at the employee satisfaction and its importance. So we will look at how it influences the right organizational culture and the organizational effectiveness. The second thing that we're going to be looking at is the relationship between employee satisfaction and work motivation, because we understand that job satisfaction and work motivation is correlated. So if the employees are happy, then they will be motivated. And we'll also be looking at the challenges HR undergo in achieving employee satisfaction amidst crisis situations, because we're living in a changing environment, right? And HR oftentimes have to step up to the plate and manage changing situations and crisis situations. We will also look at the impact of COVID-19 and HRM, given that the time that we're going to focus on is COVID-19, the COVID-19 period. And we'll be looking at how crisis and changes are handled by MOE and the impact on employee satisfaction. The key terms that we have highlighted in our topic is the employee satisfaction, work motivation, work-home balance, and COVID-19 pandemic. I will now hand over to Kimberly, who will share the research problem with you. Thank you.
Can you please change the slide?
I did, Kim.
Okay. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As stated, the enterprises have been experiencing many challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic worldwide, and so acquiring the right workforce and retaining it is of utmost importance. Yes, it is, because we all need to, it needs to be retained, because we need to attend work, and what we produce needs to continue to be produced. So in order for it to come in, because first people are losing jobs, it's not the norm, because we all need to be paid in order to maintain our family. Human resource is the most important asset in any organization, and so motivating employees is necessary for organizational effectiveness. Employees are motivated when their needs to work are met. Each employee has different needs, but organizations are oftentimes unaware of the diversity in their workforce, and so are not able to motivate their diverse workforce.
Thank you, Kimberly. I now hand over to Caroline, who will go through the purpose statement.
Go back up, Judy. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Caroline Norbert, and I'm here to talk about the purpose of the purpose statement. We intend to provide the Ministry of Education, Youth and Culture with a deeper understanding of how they can maintain workers' motivation and to assist their employees with balancing work and family life amidst the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic by receiving existing literature and using quantitative methodology for sustainability. As said, we can, the Ministry of Education, we can inform the Ministry of Education of some of the factors like health and wellness and the well-being of their staff, how to communicate with their staff during the time of the pandemic, how to assure them, so that they can find satisfactory ways of motivating their employees. Next one, Jody. Research question. What is the research questions are, what is the relationship between employee satisfaction and work motivation? What is the effect of employee satisfaction on work-life balance? How can HR assist workers in maintaining work-life balance in general and also during crisis or changes? What are some strategies that the Ministry of Education may implement to manage crisis and changes? How can MOE achieve job satisfaction amidst the COVID-19 pandemic?
Thank you. This concludes our presentation.
All right, thank you, ladies. So go to your background again for me, the slide with the background information.
Seeing it, miss?
Not this one. Go to one. I think it was, hold a second, let me see. Okay, yes, the last point you have on there in terms of background information, do you have resources to support that aspect of your background information? How crises and changes are handled by MOE? Because I think it's very specific, and it almost starts, it almost suggests you already have the answer to your research question. So what I would recommend is that you just look at HRM's role in crisis situations and even the impact of COVID-19 on human resource management, and don't yet go to how crises and changes are handled by the MOE, because then that suggests you already have the answer to your research, and then why would you be doing the research if that's the case?
Miss, we intended to speak on what we observe.
Oh no, don't go there yet.
Education.
Don't go there yet. All right.
Or say instead we should
and even
look at the HRM's role in crisis situation.
Yes.
Okay.
And you can even speak to the impact of COVID-19 on HRM.
Okay.
All right.
We already have that, miss.
Okay. Secondly, you may need to rephrase your purpose statement. So for instance, go to your purpose statement. All right, so the purpose of this study, you literally need a statement that says the purpose of this study is to provide the MOE with a deeper understanding of how they can maintain workers' motivation and assist their employees with balancing amid the outbreak of the, all right, you can just end that pandemic. And then for your research questions now, you have too many, okay? So let me see. I would take out they're good questions, but you perhaps need to find a way to combine them.
Some of them? Okay.
Yeah, so for instance, how can HR assist workers in maintaining work-life balance and employee satisfaction during crisis or changes, right? And then know what are some of the strategies that MOE may implement to manage crisis and changes, and its effect on employees. Crisis such as the COVID-19 pandemic, and its effect on employees. I don't think you need changes. So you could then take out the last question you have there, because that would be covered in that one. And you could take out number 2 as well, because you brought employee satisfaction into, right? And change work motivation to employee motivation.
Should we change it in our topic as well?
What you had in the topic? You had work motivation or
Yes,
employee
yes.
motivation?
Work motivation.
What do you mean? You mean that employees' motivation to do their work? That's what you mean by work motivation?
Yeah, drive to do their work, yes. It's actually a term that is used and there's a definition for it.
All right, well, if you can define it and the definition you have found works with what you want, then leave it to work motivation. Okay.
Thank you, Miss.
All right, great. Next group. Which group wants to go next? Is group 4 ready?
Yes, Miss.
All right, go ahead for me.
4 points. Okay, so our
slideshow, Karen. Slideshow or yes, right there.
what is it? 4 points. Okay. So general topic is occupational health and safety. Our group members are myself, Melissa Sutherland, Shani McFarlane. Our research topic is how management's occupational health and safety practices may influence employees' awareness of its importance in the workplace and the effects on worker productivity level. A study at the Ministry of Education. Introduction. The origins of occupational health and safety concerns can be traced back to the Industrial Revolution, which was marked by innovation like cotton spinning, textile, etc. Although the Industrial Revolution contributed to the economic development, it had a negative impact on health and safety of workers. OHS has developed over the years and has considered individual physical, mental, and social being. An organization that provides a safe workplace for its employees may see an increase in workers' productivity. This may be linked to an increase in productivity or a boost in workers' performance. OHS may vary with organization experiences, but it is clear that as a factor to staff productivity, it should be noted that gains made in improving staff awareness through employees' health and safety programs should be a major priority for management because they save lives, increase productivity, and reduce costs. The OHS Act in Jamaica proposes that promoting the provision of advice, information, education, and training in relation to occupational safety and health is one of the key objectives of the Act to prevent accidents and injuries to health. We go on to the key terms. Mel?
Good evening, everyone. Our key terms to this research are occupational health and safety. This refers to the welfare of employees' safety and how to prevent workplace injuries. Workplace productivity. This is the quality of work produced by workers in the workplace. Awareness is having knowledge of something, and management is coordinating and administering tasks to achieve its goal. I'll be also doing the research problem. Our research problem is one of the biggest problems in the world today is maintaining workers' physical and mental health and to prevent occupational health and safety injuries and accidents. The health and safety of today's workplace is a vital part of every business strategic goal. Employee safety and health programs occupy a pivotal position in the human resource management. However, the concept of OHS practices seems to be only valid in most organization policy statements and not evident in the existing practices of the organization. Oftentimes, accident occurs to employees who are unaware of the necessary OHS precautions that should be implemented by the employer. Therefore, this may cause extreme impact on staff well-being and also the productivity of the organization. This research is needed to examine OHS awareness and practices in the organization and the impact of employees' productivity in the Ministry of Education.
Shanae?
Miss, we're not hearing Shanae, so I'll go ahead. The purpose of this study, and this is a purpose statement, is to identify the importance of occupational health and safety and its importance in the Ministry of Education and how it affects workers' productivity. Our research questions: what is the importance of health and safety in the workplace? To what extent does occupational health and safety affect workers' productivity in the workplace? And why is it important for managers to embrace health and safety? And those are our references.
All right, thank you, ladies. All right, so go back to your purpose statement for me. All right, now, when I look at your purpose statement and I look at your topic, there are some key things that aren't coming out in the purpose statement, because look at your topic. Go to your topic. What's a key component of your topic that's not coming out in your purpose statement?
The awareness of the importance in the workplace, that part.
And not just that.
And also,
you have some key things there. You're looking at, it's the management's practices, OHS practices.
Right.
You're looking at employee awareness of these, the importance of these practices and how it impacts on worker productivity. Now go to your purpose statement. Now your purpose statement is basically, is almost like you're rephrasing your topic to bring out the key points. So the purpose of your study is to examine how management's OHS practices are influencing their employees' awareness of the importance of these practices and also its impact on productivity. So that needs to come out. All of those key elements need to come out in your purpose statement. Your research questions are fine, but your purpose statement needs to phrase all of those key components. They need to come out in your purpose statement. So you're gonna have to revise that. Now,
all right, thank you.
Your research problem, you gave background information and you gave research. No, this is for all groups, not just this group. If you note in the papers that I sent you, and I know this was just a PowerPoint, and the presentation of your PowerPoints is another thing I want to go over with the group before your final presentations. On your PowerPoints, you just want to put brief pointers that will remind you as a presenter what it is you need to say. So you don't have a lot of narrative on the PowerPoint. But also I'm hoping that, and please remember that when you are now writing your draft of chapter 1, any information that you put there, and obviously you're taking it from other sources, you need to give credit to those sources in what you write. All right, so if you're paraphrasing other sources and multiple sources, then you cite those sources as you go along in what you write in chapter 1. Because in a research paper, that is critical. You can make statements of your own and must make statements of your own because that is where your voice is coming out in what you write. So you would have been reading on your topic and so on, and you have developed some key insight into some things related to your topic. So you speak to those things using your voice as a researcher, which doesn't mean using personal pronouns, like never refer to yourself by personal pronouns, I, we, that sort of thing. You speak generally, or you might indicate the literature suggests, or researchers, or the researcher. All right, but never make personal reference to yourself in most of the papers. There's some sections where you can do that, where you're literally making reference to how you may have been influenced by the research, but for the most part, you don't make personal reference to yourself as the researcher. So I just want to give a general reminder that it's very important, even as you write and you incorporate information from other sources, that you give credit to those sources. All right. Additionally, remember, for any definition or key term that you're defining, you must have the source of that definition as well. And remember to go back to sources like Purdue OWL and other resources or online that can help you to see how to cite information from websites, right? Whether it's in-text citation or it is on your bibliography. So when you're defining key terms, it's important that you do the in-text citation appropriately, and then those must now relate to the references you're going to have on your reference page. So please, whether it is dictionary.com, whatever website it is, look for how you must cite those sources with the in-text citation. All right, thank you, ladies.
No problem, Miss.
Next group, who is going next?
Miss, we will go next. Group 6.
Which group is that? 6? All
Yes,
right,
please.
great.
Can I share now, Miss?
Yes, go ahead.
Are you seeing the screen?
Yes, it just the slideshow.
Okay.
No, go a little further over. Go all the way across the slideshow at the top tab, right?
Good night, everyone. Welcome. We are group 6, and our research topic will be on how non-managerial employees feel about compensation equity in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. My name is Danielle Robinson, and myself, Ricardo Cummins, and Jeru Robinson will be presenting. Okay, so just a general background to our topic. Equity is a sense of fundamental fairness. In the context of compensation, financial equity or compensation equity is the perception by employees that they are being paid fairly. The perception of being overpaid or underpaid can create a sense of inequity in the workplace and a sense of unfairness. Ricardo?
Key terms to be identified. Good night, everyone. Key things to be identified. Compensation. Compensation is a total cash and non-cash payment that you give to an employee in exchange for work they do for your business. It is typically one of the biggest expenses for businesses with employees. Compensation is more than an employee regular paid salary, paid wages. It also includes many other types of wages and benefits. These types of compensation benefits include hourly or salary wages, sales commission, overtime wages, tip income, bonus pay, etc. Equity. Equity is defined as the quality of being fair and impartial. Research problems and issues. finding out how non-managerial employees feel about their individual compensation packages. Does equitable compensation packages motivate employees, non-managerial employees?
Okay, and now we'll hand over to Jeru, who will be doing our purpose statement.
Good night, everyone. The purpose of this research study is to identify how non-managerial employees are impacted by the compensation package that are offered by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. It also help the ministry in identifying what can be done to help these employees feel more secure and well compensated.
Okay, now we'll be looking at our research questions to be explored. All right, and we'll be looking at how does compensation equity affect employee retention in the ministry, and how does equitable compensation affect morale, employee morale at the non-managerial level. And that concludes our presentation for this evening. Thank you for listening.
All right, group 6. Go to your topic again for me. I think that was your first slide. All right, next slide. All right, so of course you're going to have to now build out your background on your topic, because in your topic you have a lot of key things coming out. You have to introduce the reader to what you mean by not just equity, but compensation. There are also some, for instance, you might find information that speaks to non-managerial and managerial staff and compensation. And that would come out in your, it could come out, parts of it could come out in the background and also in your research. Also see where, based on your research questions, you're looking at things like the effect of compensation on retention. Go to your research question for me, research questions. All right, so how it affects employee retention and morale. I didn't see those things in the topic, the idea of employee retention and morale, right?
Okay.
Which should have an E on it, by the way. So you're going to have to incorporate that in your topic. So you can either put a colon and put influence or impact on employee retention and morale or something, but those two key components need to come out in your topic.
Okay.
In your topic as well. Go to your purpose statement. All right, so here as well, it's fine that you say it's to identify how non-managerial employees are impacted by compensation packages offered by the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, more specifically, employee retention and morale. Okay, so those two key components need to, it's not just about the impact, but whether their view on it being equitable. So
Okay.
it's also about impact, but it's also their perspective on the equity of compensation packages and how it influences their idea to remain on the job or their morale while on the job.
Okay, Miss.
So those key components need to come out. So you're also going to need to expand on your research problem, because basically what you're doing through your research problem is you're building a case that this is an issue that needs to be addressed. It therefore means you're going to look up resources and literature that speaks to how compensation packages that are viewed as inequitable may affect or contribute to low employee morale, how it might contribute to high turnover rate, and how it could potentially affect employees' performance on the job. All of those, when you bring those out and create a scenario that these are real issues, that having an understanding about them will really within the Ministry of Education is important. But don't just focus on the ministry. You have to look globally and you have to look generally, and use the information you're reading to build a case that this is something that needs further investigation within your context. And you're going to basically say that, look, this is something that has been studied in general. This is something that has been recognized in the literature, that these things are important in terms of not just your managerial employees, but your non-managerial employees. And so it's important to look at them within a Jamaican context, and more specifically within the context of the employees of the Ministry of Education.
Okay, Miss. Point taken. Thank you.
No problem. All right, who is going next? All right, so I've had 1, 2, 3, 4.
Miss, our group will go. Paula and Sharon.
All right, Paula and Sharon, go ahead for me.
Right. Good evening, everyone. This evening, myself, Paula Lindsay, and Sharon Barnes will be focusing on the role of ergonomics and its impact on quality of life and employee productivity within the Ministry of Education, Youth, and Information. Now, what is ergonomics? According to the International Ergonomics Association, they define it as the scientific discipline concerned with the understanding of interactions among humans and other elements of a system, and the profession that applies theory, principles, data, and methods to design in order to optimize human well-being and overall system performance. No benefits of ergonomics. It improved safety, comfort, job satisfaction, quality of life, and it reduces stress and fatigue. Now, background of our topic. Ergonomics plays a vital role in the physical well-being and productivity of any employee. If proper ergonomics is not practiced within the work environment, it increases absenteeism, high employee turnover, and increased sick leaves. This leads to decreased worker productivity and eventually will decrease the profitability of the organization. Now, Sharon Barnes will focus on the key terms. Sharon.
Hello? Not hearing?
Hearing you now.
Okay. Okay, some of the key terms that we'll use in our study is role, ergonomics, impact, quality, productivity, carpal tunnel syndrome, contact stress, fatigue, musculoskeletal disorder, and job rotation. So Paula has defined ergonomics already. So I'll move on to role. And role describes a set of activities that affect someone or that someone should do. Paula describes ergonomics already. The impact is a marked effect or influence. And productivity refers to the ability of an individual, team, or organization to work efficiently within that time to maximize output. Carpal tunnel syndrome is a specific medical diagnosis for one type of work-related muscular disorder. It is a disorder of the hand and wrist that is caused by the compression of the median nerve, where the nerve passes from the forearm through the carpal tunnel in the wrist and into the hand. Contact stress is the exposure of a body part to a hard or sharp surface edge from a workstation or a hand tool. Example, leaning your forearm against the sharp edge of a desk or table. And contact stress has been associated with the development of work-related musculoskeletal disorder. Okay. And job rotation is where workers perform a variety of different, not necessarily related jobs during their work shift. I think I've covered all of the key terms. Paula? Okay, and we have a quote. At the end of the day, nurturing employee safety and wellness through office ergonomics is a way to build a positive workplace culture, one that keeps workers engaged and productive. Our research problem or issues are the factors of ergonomics that affect the productivity of the employee and the extent to which these factors affect the employee's productivity. Our purpose statement: the purpose of this report is to discuss how ergonomics affects employee productivity and the impact it has on their well-being. And so our research questions are: how does ergonomics affect production? What impact does it have on the well-being of employees? What is the employer's responsibility where ergonomics is concerned? And how can we promote and maintain proper ergonomics in the workplace? And the last question is, who will benefit from this research? That's the end of our presentation.
All right, thanks, ladies. I'm gonna ask you to go to your slide that looks at your definition of terms. All right, go to your first slide. Well, not first, the third. Okay. All right, so is this in terms of looking at the benefits of ergonomics? Where would that come in your chapter 1? Is it an explanation of what ergonomics is? and it would come in your background information.
Basically,
portion.
Miss.
Yes, Miss.
Okay, so some persons may not be familiar with the whole thing about ergonomics, and in terms of a connection to HR in terms of welfare of employees, that sort of thing. So this would need to come out in your background information, and then you could then speak to just giving some brief background on ergonomics, because when you get to chapter 2, some of these things you're actually going to have to give more in-depth information on, for instance, ergonomics and some of the factors that you're looking at. But you want to at least begin chapter 1 in your background to the topic by allowing your reader to have an understanding of exactly what it is that you will be covering. When you talk about ergonomics, what do you mean? Because there's some people who may be reading your paper and have never heard about ergonomics, or maybe they haven't heard the term, although they may know what it relates to if you use another term. So you have to pretend when all of you are writing chapter 1, I want you to pretend that your reader has no knowledge of your topic at all. They don't have any background information. And so you're coming to it from a very basic level, not assuming that they understand anything about your topic. And you are there to inform them or to educate them on it. All right, go to the next slide. Go on slideshow for me, because I need to be able to read it, and I'm not reading, can't read it with that small writing. All right, so go to, all right, so obviously in background to the topic, you're going to be building that section out more, right? To give the reader a true background to your topic so that they understand and get some introductory information into why it is this topic is being researched. Same thing with the research problem. You have to build a case that ergonomics is something that is important for workplaces to consider in terms of how it affects employees. And you can look for literature that speaks to the fact that if you don't have a focus or consider ergonomics, how it might negatively impact the organization. So you're gonna have to, it's good that you say here, if it's not practiced, then it can lead to these things, and these things, right? And you're going to find further information that supports and give even a little bit more detail to why this is an issue that warrants further attention. All right, go to your next slide for me. Key terms. Okay, next one. All right, so now I don't want you to go back. All right, so I don't want you to get so, what's the word I'm looking for, granular, that you are defining terms like role, impact, quality, and productivity. In the context of your paper, you're not just looking at impact, you're not just looking at quality, but you're looking at a term like quality of life. So I want you to try and find a source that looks at quality of life and defines it. And that is what I want you to define. So that when you look at, when I'm reading your paper and I see quality of life, what does it speak to? Does it speak to your health and safety at the workplace? Does it speak to your overall quality of life, both at the workplace and outside of the workplace? How are you contextualizing quality of life within your research paper? Because that is how you need to define it in your definition of key terms. The same thing for employee productivity. Search for a definition of employee productivity and not just productivity, all right? Because although you might find that it is used synonymously depending on the source that you find, I'm sure you can also find definitions of employee productivity as well. So I want you to not just to define productivity, don't define productivity, but define employee productivity. And this is because you are using these terms and phrases and you're going to be referring to them throughout your paper. And the reader needs to be able to see what you mean when you say quality of life, or when you reference quality of life, and when you reference employee productivity. Ergonomics is fine because you have to define that. All right. Now, on the right, you have some, I am going to assume there are some effects, negative effects of ergonomics or ergonomic issues. All right. Or maybe things that are affecting quality of life and productivity. My question to you, are these terms things that are coming out in your chapter 1 otherwise that you would not have explained in the body of what you've written?
Miss, I don't understand the question.
So for instance, carpal tunnel syndrome, okay? If you're looking at, if you're gonna say, for instance, that in the background to the problem or the background to the topic or research problem, if you're gonna speak to the fact that if ergonomics is not addressed, you find that some employees may develop things like carpal tunnel syndrome or musculoskeletal disorder, right? Within the body of what you've written there, you would then define carpal tunnel syndrome and musculoskeletal disorder.
Yes, miss.
All right. So then you wouldn't need to put it as, it's not a key term that you're going to find repeating itself over and over in your research paper. It's just something that is in the context of you talking about ergonomics, and you would have described it in the body of what you've written already. So it's not a key, when you talk about a key term, it's one that is integral to your research paper, and you're going to be using it throughout your research at several points. So you have to define it for the reader so that they know how you're utilizing it.
Okay.
And that is my concern with the key terms you have on the right-hand side of the flage. Job rotation, is that something that is in your topic or your purpose statement? Why are you defining it here?
Oh, it's not in the purpose statement, miss.
Okay, so why did you choose to define job rotation?
Because we're gonna speak on it in the chapter.
Okay, so you speak on it in the chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel that it's going to come up in many different areas of your paper later on?
Honestly, miss,
you're not sure.
I was focusing on terms that we would have used in chapter 1.
Okay, all right, and that's not necessarily what the key terms are. Like, key terms are those that are going to be critical to your research that you're doing, and you're going to find that you're referring to it throughout the paper consistently.
Okay, miss.
All right. No, so if you're going to explain job rotation at different, like within chapter 1 itself, then you don't need to define it as a key term.
Okay, miss. We'll address that. We'll address it, miss.
All right. And let me go to know your research questions. All right, go back to the slide before this one, please. Okay, so impact on their well-being. That's your purpose statement that you put. Why you chose well-being as opposed to quality of life?
Miss, I don't know. I just thought that it means the same thing.
Does it? And this is where you have to be careful. You are going to search for a definition of quality of life, right? in terms of how you are using quality of life within your paper. Now, if you're going to use well-being in your purpose, it might mean that you're going to have to use well-being throughout your paper instead of quality of life. So something as important and central to your paper as your purpose statement, just keep the same terms that you used earlier on.
Okay.
All right, so change that with quality of life. Now, later on, when you're referring to quality of life, you can bring in well-being. But something like your purpose statement, just keep those key terms.
Okay.
All right. Research, next slide now. All right, so how does ergonomics affect? It's not just production, but employee productivity. All right. What impact does it have on the well-being of the employees? Again, quality of life of employees. What is employers' responsibility in relation to ergonomics or workplace ergonomics, because you have to be specific. So those three, once you've made the changes I've addressed, I don't think you need the others on the other side. Because when you say, how can we, who is the we?
Workers.
All right, so I don't think you need to, although that may come out later on in your paper, I would make it a research question.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I think
Okay,
that
miss.
was it. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
just make those changes, please.
Yes,
Thanks, miss.
All right. Next group. Let me see who hasn't gone. 2, 8, 4, 6, 7. Group 3, are you ready? Group 3. Not hearing anything.
Yes, miss.
That's Rocky and Kemara and Curtis. You ready?
Checking for Mr. Edlam.
He's there.
Come on.
Kemar. Maybe you need to give him a call.
Okay.
And this is the final presentation for tonight because the other two groups have asked to go next class, so they'll begin next class. All right, so while group 3 gets ready, is everybody still with me? I hope you all haven't gone off and doing something else.
Still hear me, still here.
Okay, all right, because if you notice, while I'm listening to the other groups, I'm giving some information that I want the rest of you to consider in terms of your chapter 1, all right? Now, one thing that was not covered in presentations, but if you recognize, if you look at the layout and the expectation for chapter 1, it speaks to significance of your study, all right? And when you're looking at significance of your study, you're looking at which groups will your study will be informed by your study. So for instance, yes, you're looking at the Ministry of Education. So management at the ministry may be interested in the findings of your study. Employees at the ministry would be interested in findings of your study. Persons from other government sectors may be interested. Policymakers may be interested. You know, students of HR may be interested. So you can, yes, identify those groups, but you don't just need to indicate that those groups will find your topic of interest or may find your topic of interest. You also need to indicate how it would inform them. What could they gain potentially from your topic? Okay, so that needs to be explained in the significance of the study section. So if you say, for instance, that policymakers in reading this paper on compensation management and equity will have a greater understanding of how non-managerial employees are affected by compensation issues in the workplace, and in particular the public sector, and it will help them to make better decisions in relation to these employees' compensation packages. That is one thing that you need to identify in that section. So it's not just about saying, okay, yes, policymakers will gain from reading this research, but policymakers may gain from the findings of this research as it will whatever, and you give an explanation as to why they would benefit from the reading the findings of your research paper or reading your research paper. All right. When you get to limitations of the study, what you're exploring is, for instance, you're looking at the scope of your study. This study will focus on this. So for instance, if you're looking at the Ministry of Education and you're looking at a particular subsection of the ministry, then you're not seeking to generalize what you find to say that it's everybody's experience in all the government ministries. You're seeking to look at compensation. You're not seeking to look at any other matter that may affect, or you may be looking at a specific aspect of compensation and you're not looking at others. So in limitations of this study, you're basically looking at you're saying, this is the scope of my study. This is what we're focusing on. We're not necessarily focusing on any other extenuating things that may be connected to this study. Those are things that possibly you can look at in future, but not in the context of this specific study, because you're focused on very specific things within your topic. All right. Anything else that I need to say to you guys in terms of chapter 1? Is there any question? Group 3, are you ready? If you're ready, let me know,
No, they're not.
You can't find Kemar?
He doesn't have a phone at the moment, but I sent an email, no response as yet.
All right, so time is running out. So perhaps you gentlemen will go next class as well. We'll start with the presentations. I'm gonna ask the class now, does anybody have any questions? Anything you're not clear about? All right.
So means you said that we should not state what we observe in regards to our topic in the background, but save that for after the study is done.
Yeah, because remember, your study is not about you. It's almost like you're writing. Although sometimes you can incorporate personal experience in a study. So say, for instance, you can make a statement like employees within the public sector have been concerned with the inattention or lack of attention given to ergonomics in the workplace, and it has contributed to their welfare, or it has affected their welfare significantly. But you don't want to put too much emphasis on personal experience within that study, because then it almost presents it as if it is biased, and you don't want to make your research come across as biased. So avoid the personal references as much as possible. And when you actually do the study later on now, based on your personal experience, you're going to develop perhaps some research questions or questionnaire items, but you can't present it as if, you're looking at this issue based on something that you are aware of as an employee within the ministry.
So for the background, we should seek to emphasize mostly on
that's
the
why
root
I'm
of
saying
the problem, or say
no,
again?
for the background. So your background is going to, your introduction or background is going to basically introduce your reader to the key issues that you're going to highlight in your topic. All right, in terms of, for instance, if you're looking at ergonomics, you give them some introductory information to what ergonomics is, right? If you're looking at employee productivity, similarly. When you go to know the research problem, you are now building a case or presenting to your reader why this specific issue you are looking at warrants attention. Why is it an issue that needs further investigation, or there is a need for you to examine it? And that can come from, you have to start general, because you're going to find resources that speak to the need to look at those issues within organizations generally. And if you have any sources that speak to this being a specific issue that needs to be addressed within the ministry in particular, or ministries depending on your topic, then you also bring that in as well. All right, Adrice, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yes, miss. All right. Say, for instance, to get more information, for my particular topic, within government, the cabinet office is the person in charge of the process.
Yeah.
So if it is that I contact the cabinet office, say, for instance, for them to write a letter to me, giving me some information, can that be used as a reference? And if so, how do I go about that?
Okay, so what would they be giving you information on, like the implementation of the system within the ministries?
Yes, miss.
Okay.
And any other detail in terms of the reasons why they had transitioned
all right,
from
so
one to the other.
There is a way to cite notes and let me see now, personal documentation. Let me see if I have my APA manual close by. All right, so there is for instance, you can refer to it as personal communications. Look for how to cite personal communications, which would include private letters, memos, some electronic communications like emails or messages from discussion groups or bulletin boards, electronic bulletin boards. So you'd have to look for in APA how to cite personal communications. And I think it would be covered under that.
Okay, miss, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right, guys. Well, I will say that overall, I think you did a good job on the presentation of the elements of your chapter 1. You have some good topics, and once you do a good job of it, then I think that you will be on the right path moving into section 2 of the research course. But I just want to remind you all that it's a process that you have to keep at. It's a process that's going to demand that every member of the group contributes. It's a process that's going to demand that you read widely on your topic and get information from all over on your topic. All right, so remember again, start generally to get information on your topic. So start globally, then look regionally, meaning the Caribbean, and look nationally to get the required information on your topic. All right, if there are no other questions.
Miss, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Miss, I don't know if you plan to have any more consultation sessions, Miss, but my problem is, Miss, can we know like a day in advance?
Oh, you mean
because the problem is checking the mail. I checked my mail early Friday morning, and then by the time I went back, the time was gone.
Okay.
So it's kind of a challenge, Miss. So
All right. The challenge for me, the challenge for me is that my calendar is very unpredictable. Let me see. Let me see what can be done. Hold a second. All right, so Friday looks good right now. So I will say I'm going to put on my calendar. Let me see. Probably I'm going to try to make available consultation times between 12 and 2.
Miss. For some persons who are going to be in work on that day is half day.
Oh Lord, I forgot.
So you as well should be going home at 12.
Going home at 12. That is very true. All right. I forgot about that.
Miss, is it possible for you to do weekend?
I'd prefer not to. Let me see. Let me look at my Thursday. No, Thursday is a bad day. Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday looks good. Wednesday looks like a possibility. For right now, I'm gonna put 12 to 2 on Wednesday. Okay. So what I will do is to put up my usual announcement in Canvas. And then I try to work around your lunchtime, which I assume is your lunchtime. So you can plan for it and also recognize it's like 15 to 20 minutes per session. So when you sign in using the conference tool, please make sure that your audio can be enabled, whether you're using your phone or you're using some other device, because I need to be able to hear you when we're having consultation. So I will put that announcement in, and then you all can, as usual, it's going to be first come, first serve.
Okay, Miss.
Right. Okay, Miss. All right. So that's Wednesday from 12 to 2. Have a good evening, everybody.
Same to you,
Miss. Miss, can we have 5 minutes of your time now?
All right.
All right. When the others left, we just want you to share what we have so far, just to see if we're on the right track for Friday, and possibly get some guidance and share with you what we intend to do.
Which group is this?
Carleen, Butler, Kimberly.
Oh, one of the groups that didn't go.
No, Miss, we went.
Oh, we did that went.
Employee satisfaction. We're group 8. We did employee satisfaction and work motivation.
All right, everybody else can leave. You can sign out. Go ahead, ladies.
So I'm trying to bring up my emails where I have my background. Carlene? Carlene?
Hearing you, Jody, go ahead.
Yeah, I was thinking that you could go before me if you have your thing up already because my computer is a bit slow.
Which one you want me to bring up?
No,
Which
the
one me to
thing
bring
that
up?
you were doing. Or you were working on statement of problems, right?
Right. Yes.
So may I say if you have any questions or any guidance you could ask me. Meanwhile, may I try bring up my own, the something in the background. So
Okay, Miss.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So what I was looking at was from an employee perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But Jody was saying that I should also include the challenges that HR is having with managing staff and the COVID-19. What is your take on that?
You're the ones looking at
job satisfaction and job and work satisfaction and balancing work-home life during the COVID-19.
All right, and you were saying that you were what?
All right. First, I was looking at job satisfaction and employees working from home and some of the challenges that they were facing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then Jody was saying that I could also incorporate the challenges that HR is facing with employees during the pandemic too.
Yes, true. Your topic does not specifically say, well, let me ask you.
Employees' satisfaction and its effect on work motivation and work/home balance during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Who would you be getting? Who are your participants? Who will you be getting your information from? Are you looking at it from the employee's perspective?
That was what I was doing.
I assume that's what you're doing. But then to kind of give context to it,
right,
you could also introduce the HR's perspective as well, because to get an appreciation of some of the issues that HR departments are navigating during the pandemic, you could incorporate that in your statement of the problem. And you could also build a case to say, these are some of the HR issues that have been, presenting themselves during this uncertain time, and it is influencing employees' motivation and even their work-life balance and their satisfaction levels. So yes, you can bring in from just a general, because you'd have to do that, from a general HR perspective, that it is a challenging time for human resources, both for those who manage the departments and try to manage human resources and the employees themselves. And therefore, this it's one reason that this topic demands further investigation or would benefit from it. Get me?
Yes, miss.
Okay.
Jody, you bring up your thing yet? Jodianne? Kimberly?
sorry, Carlene, internet trouble. It's coming up though. I'm right there waiting on it to come up.
Team, you have anything to say or question to ask?
So Miss, for the purpose of study, Miss, we have shared that with the class earlier. Is that the only thing we need to put, or we need to elaborate on the purpose of study? No, we didn't know the purpose statement, rather. I don't know if it's the same thing.
All right, so when you put your purpose of your study, right? And you state the purpose of this study is to examine whatever. We will address, you can expand on it. For instance, you can say, we will explore this, and this, and how this impacts, and that sort of thing. And then you say, our research questions are. Okay, so if you look on both the sample papers that I've sent, I think that that's how you see that they approached it. So you basically have to use the purpose of the study section to explain the different aspects of the topic that you will be addressing and how you will be exploring them then. Okay.
Okay, Miss. So the purpose statement must be the first thing that is stated
in that section, yes. And then you have the
all right.
research questions.
Okay. It's so sad, but I'm trying to bring up my thing, and it's moving so slowly. I wish I had sent it to
you. Can email it to me and I will see if I can look at it, Jody.
All right,
yeah.
I'll do that.
All right.
But we have highlighted a lot of in the background. We have spoke a lot about the impact of COVID-19 and HRM. I spoke about.
Just make sure that you're citing your secondary sources.
We have to cite in the background as well.
Everywhere.
Wherever.
Everywhere.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Miss.
All right, ladies.
Okay.
Have a good evening.
Bye. Night.
Bye.
Good night.